Hey everyone, welcome to the 7th episode of our Metabreakers podcast. I hope you guys are having an outstanding Sunday, because I know we are too. How are you doing today, D-Money and Rob Warshack?
Right now. Feeling good. New day. It's a brand new day. Yesterday I was salty, but today I'm feeling good. Metabreakers podcast. What could be better, you know? Yeah.
Nice. You had some lasagna from your boy Emilio back there. He cooked it for you last night because he knew you were tilted. So some Emilio lasagna. Yeah, that's good.
He always knows how to cheer me up. Yeah, you know.
He looks like the cheery kind of guy. Look at him. Just look at him standing there, just ready to spread it around.
What possessed you to buy him at a thrift shop? We were asking D-Money about the Italian man in the background before we got started, so I feel like this is something that we should answer right now. What made you bring him home?
There's just that thing where the second you see something, you just fall in love with it. You know, it's like you know you're in love in like the first 5 seconds of seeing somebody. You know, when I saw Emilio, sorry.
I think he wants it to be a girl.
We role play at night, but yeah, when I saw Emilio for the first time, I just knew I had to have him. He was $15. I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?" I would spend like 200 on this man.
Can you hold him up to the camera? Can you? Is he heavy? I would. Yeah, we need a close up of Emilio.
Yeah, like, he looks like a chunky boy. Ooh, he's got shorts on. Oh wow.
So you saw this thing and you said you needed it.
Oh my god, his eyes are like really kind of creepy.
His eyes are very creepy. But besides that,
are they just pupil? Is that or is that iris? Like
yes. No, not if you look closely, but from far away, yes, it looks like that.
I feel like if you painted the rest of it black, he would just look possessed.
And is that a knife in his hand?
No, it's like a spatula kind of thing.
Okay, I thought that was a knife. I was about to say, yo, you're gonna die. He's gonna get you.
I did not keep him near my bed.
Ooh, that doesn't stop Emilio. That man does things.
Oh man.
Oh shit.
I wonder what the intention of people who craft those things are for. I feel like those go into like bakeries, right? Like that's
something for like an Italian restaurant, probably. Yeah.
AKA D-Money's room.
I love Italian food, so it's a perfect fit, you know.
I got a new room too. Welcome to the new DracoCatt den. It's a new room and a new home. So new room who dis.
Yeah, it looks good.
Thank you.
The official Hearthstone pillow. Wow.
Hey, you can still get them, guys. They're $20 if you want to have a
It's embroidered.
It is embroidered. It was way nice because when you look at the picture, I was telling everyone about this earlier. They look like not awesome. Like if you look at the Hearthstone pillow, it looks just like this blown up sack. Like that just has like a legend little print on it. But when I got it, I was like, this is a quality embroidered pillow right here. This is the game I love.
It's actually
what made you want
$15.
Ooh,
it's actually on sale. Yeah. Just saying.
Wow. Doesn't it look bad though? Do you know what I'm saying? Like it looks like it looks like way worse quality in the picture. So that never happens. Usually when you buy something, it looks worse in real life than it does in the photo. You know, but this is the opposite. So that just
it's reverse psychology.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man.
Nice.
But
I got a big moonkin coming for it too. I feel like that was also really flavorful. Is that I had to get a big moonkin behind me, so people
hold
know.
On, like a poster, or like it's like a stuffed moonkin,
a giant stuffed horde moonkin.
Holy shit! I'm interested in this because I recently, completely off topic, Hearthstone. I started back playing WoW not too long ago, and I have a druid alt, and so moonkin is one of the of course forms of the druid.
I loved playing boomkin, but the one thing that feels weird about playing boomkin is like once you gear up your character, you can't actually see what you're wearing. So like going late game boomkin, like
you can change glyphs now, so you can see gear.
So you can see like your like headdress that you wear for your druid.
So that was a big complaint was, it's just a giant chicken, and I was always a giant chicken, and I never got to see my cool gear. So now you can glyph, and you can be like an astral form chicken, or you can be an astral form and you see your gear, or you can just be like normal form and see your gear. You know what I mean? Like, you have options to like choose what you want to look like. So you mix and match. Some days you're a chicken, some days you're an astral chicken, some days you're a normal Tauren,
You can customize your boomkin now, essentially.
Yes.
Like you can be an individual and a boomkin.
Yes.
This is amazing. I want to play WoW again. This is the
Dude,
best news I've
when
heard.
Shadowlands comes out, dude, I'll see you there.
Okay. We'll do it.
Hell yeah, brother.
Is it true
All
that
right,
Demon Hunter is broken in there too? Sorry.
When I played, Demon Hunter was pretty good on DPS, and they were fun to play. Very similar to now. It's a fun deck class to play, and they were good. So
Okay. Exciting. Oh, there's the meta.
yeah, this is what we're looking at for the meta. This past week, boys, Demon Hunter still up top, along with Hunter and Rogue. Warrior has made its climb. It used to be it was bottom 2 for 2-3 weeks now, and now it's in 4th place. Like D-Money said, he's like, I don't understand why it's so low. Don't understand why it's so low, and now it's creeping on up.
Dan called it. He did.
If you go on Twitter, you could see, I'm sure you'll see at least 10 posts about people getting to Legend, and they will be posting the same exact Warrior deck. So there you go. If you want to get to Legend, that's what you want to play. I mean, especially if you're playing against Demon Hunter all day long like me, that deck would be perfect for you because it completely counters it. It's probably the only counter for Demon Hunter. Like, even Priest doesn't really counter it. So yeah, the armor gain that you get from that, the ability to clear their board pretty consistently is pretty nice, and I think that's why we're seeing it on top. I think it's mostly because of Demon Hunter.
You get a tutor for a tutor and a tutor and a tutor in that one too. Like, you have the tutor for the weapon that tutors the skipper, which enables the battle rage, which is so funny. It's just like a 4-step for drawing.
Yeah, and then if you get the nuts, you could get that 3-1-10 guy out and rampage him, and then make a copy, and then you basically just win the game. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways you could go about winning the game with that deck, whether it's just staying alive against Demon Hunter, or playing like Kor'kron Elite for a combo to deal 22 damage. Yeah, it's a pretty solid deck, and that's all I've been seeing on Twitter. People get into Legend with it. So
what kind of drives me? Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What you're mentioning, people posting the deck on Twitter. What I don't know why it bothers me so much, but so many people would be like, playing this off meta warrior deck, hit Legend, can't believe I did it. It's like, dude, this is like the best deck in the game. Like, what do you mean off meta warrior deck? Like I don't know, man. I don't know why that bothers me, but yeah, I've been seeing that a lot on Twitter too.
That's not off meta. Have you played the warrior deck though, Warshack?
No. It's not my cup of warrior. Like, I like the control warrior. Temple warrior's fun. If I were to play this type, I play the quest warrior with a bunch of weapons. I don't really run the the aggro package, like no battle rages or anything like that. It's the control variant of a quest weapon warrior, which actually had like a 70% win rate for me over like
impressive
30 games.
Yeah,
that's pretty
the
fun.
egg warrior.
A lot of aggression in those top 4 classes here. Demon Hunter, very aggressive, of course. Hunter, I mean, just as aggressive, but a little less aggressive. Rogue can be pretty aggressive. And then we have the Warrior, of course. And those are the only 4 classes that are in the positive win rate. So, noticing a trend here.
What's the trend?
Aggressive decks
are right,
on top, yeah.
At least there's 4 positive classes this week, unlike last week where there was 3. So, I mean, that's the most optimistic thing I can say about the way the meta is aging, is at least there's more classes you can play. Almost half.
Yeah, I think the reason why we're seeing so many aggressive decks be successful is because of the lack of healing that we have in the game right now. The lack of neutral healing. Like, there's only certain classes that can heal up consistently, which is like Priest and Warrior. I mean, Paladin can too, but that class is just not good. But yeah, it's pretty hard to stay alive against those aggressive decks consistently, especially with Warlock now having Sack Pack to only target their own minions. It's going to be a lot harder for them to stay alive. So I think the move is to be aggressive and just kill your opponent before they can outvalue you in the end, pretty much. And it seems to be working. Yeah.
I think this is the worst I've ever seen Shaman do, like, consistently over time. Because Shaman has always been a really good deck, I feel. For the past, like, couple of years, Shaman has always been up there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
really
like for the
bad.
last 3 metas or 3 expansions, I think it's been on top. Which it's nice to have, like, to see a class that's been doing well for so long be on the bottom, but it's like to the point where it's unplayable. I've been trying to make it work, but it's just you really in this meta. We were talking about it a little before the podcast how in this meta, if you want to try to make like a meta breaking deck, like a fun deck, off meta deck, it's really hard to be successful right now because of the power level of all these other decks that are on top. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when
Mhm.
a lot of them close the game out like by turn 4 if you don't have the right reaction to it. So yeah, it's not really a fun time to be creative when if you don't have the correct answers, you just lose. So
Mhm. Yeah, when last week when we had talked about Shaman and D-Money released his meta breaking traveling pants card, I went into Ladder and made an assortment of Shaman decks, and each one got absolutely shifted, stabbed, obliterated, and fisted down Legend Ladder quite dominantly. So yeah, Shaman. It was very, as much as I love making decks, it was not very fun trying to create a Shaman deck that, like, every form of it just felt bad. Like, no part of the deck was like, yeah, I really like this part. It feels consistent. Let's focus in on this and see if we can make this stronger, right? Like, it doesn't, like, what does Shaman do besides Invoke, right? That's basically what the deck, like, that's the only thing that sticks out, right? Is the Galakron part of it, right?
Evolve has been pretty successful, but it's just not consistent enough. It's hard to get things sticking on the board with all the aggression, right?
Mhm.
Especially with so many rogues that can just backstab and seal fate all of your early game minions. It's pretty difficult. Um, it's really fun to play. Shaman's really fun to play. It's just, of course, not fun to lose every game. So
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
sucks, but
one thing that I feel like is an important thing to mention about the way that Warrior deck is performing that counters Demon Hunter is it's definitely a high skill ceiling deck. It's not the easiest thing to play. Like it definitely requires a ton of practice and understanding before you start to really just reap the benefit against all of the matchups. It's not hard to play against Demon Hunter intuitively, I would assume. But watching someone in a tournament this week pilot that deck against like mage decks and pilot it against like a spell druid and whatnot, it is very hard to plan around all your turns when you're playing other control variants. Um,
once you start playing it, once you get used to it, it should be a bit easier, like to figure out how many injured guys you need for your Blood Boil Brutes. I think that's one of the most tricky parts of the deck. Just trying to count out your turns, because you do have a lot of cards that interact with like Battle Rage and just being injured in general. So I think once you get used to it, it gets a lot easier. I haven't played it too much. I'll probably be playing it today a little bit, but um, it does look just difficult in the fact that you need to kind of it's not even just planning out your turns. It's just like each like the turns that you go off on seem like they're pretty difficult because you have to count so many different things. Like after his minion dies, then there's gonna be less injured people on the board, and if I play 3 minions with my risky skipper is gonna be dead, and then I need to clear one guy. It's I can see how it's difficult, but
it's a lot of like multiple levels of math
yeah,
to
that's what it is.
calculate simultaneously. Because like if your opponent has 4 minions with like 1 health, 3 health, and 4 health, and then you have like a whole bunch of full health minions, you're trying to reduce the value of your brute to the right. So then you have to count your mana. Then you have to see how many minions are going to die from each risky skipper when you put something on. And then you have to kind of like add and subtract the amount of minions that will be left and will be damaged to discount the amount of mana it costs to play the brute while also thinking about mana. It's just a lot of moving parts in a turn.
Difficult turns are more difficult, I think, than other decks. I think that's what it is.
Like in comparison to Rogue, their big blow up turn is they draw a bunch of 0 mana cards. Which 0 mana card do I play? I really have to think about this. Like, right? Like that's the big Rogue's pop off turn is they draw a bunch of 0 mana. It doesn't really matter what it does anything because it's all just 0 mana. So the Warrior, I think, actually has to like plan things out. And I've seen a couple people, I think Draco, somebody had tweeted like, when is Warrior gonna get a nerf? And you're like, I hope you're kidding. Like it is a hard deck to play. Like it's rewarding when you do well and it's punishing if you make mistakes. Like I think it's a fair deck. There's almost 0 RNG factors in the Warrior deck at all besides the Lance, which could generate a Lackey, which could then generate more, but that's one card. That's like,
I'm so glad you saw that. Because that's Interval. He's like a Demon Hunter main. And he was like, when is Warrior getting nerfed? I'm like, dude, no one's going to nerf Warrior. You only don't like it because it like targets what you play, man. Like,
yeah. It was like almost, it was comedic. I was like, who is it? Like, come on, dude. Like, of course the Demon Hunter main is like, get these Warriors out of here. So.
Yeah, that's looking at the meta from a vacuum too. Because I mean, I hate the Warrior deck too. Because I'm still trying to get my like golden Illidan right now. So every time I match into that, you know, I have to think like, oh man, now I have to do all this math in my head to see what a risky skipper does to my board and plan about all this stuff. But yeah, I don't think Warrior deserves a nerf. They're not even 0.5% over being like going positive in the meta.
I mean, the only thing that I would like to see, if anything, to Warrior would be Corcoran Elite being taken out of the game. Because it kind of it's reminiscent of like Leroy Jenkins combos, because you can just die to 20 damage like from 20 health. I mean, you could obviously play around it quite a bit with like taunts or just making sure your health is above a certain point, but the combo with Corcoran plus the inner rage and then to have a rampage, it's a lot of damage. It's not really that fun. It's very reminiscent of Leroy Shadow Step, so I don't like that part, but everything else is fine.
Yeah, so with Corcoran, like, you know, I've talked about this a lot over time, and just the charge mechanic in general. When you have a game like Hearthstone, where again you can't interact on your opponent's turn, it's not Magic or Legends of Runeterra, where there's counter spells. You know what I mean? There's nothing like this in Hearthstone where you could be like, all right, I'm gonna save this counter spell because I know they have some, you know, charge burst damage where they can have nothing on the board but still do 20 damage to me, which is 2/3 of my full health, right? So yeah, the whole charge mechanic in Hearthstone, because there's no interrupts, I've never really liked it. Like very small minions like Stone Tusk Boar, even that they specifically have mentioned how Stone Tusk Boar limits design capabilities and like what cards they can and can't print, and that's just a 1-mana 1/1 charge. Corcoran, I'm sure, as a much more powerful card, even limits design as within the Warrior class even more, right? So definitely agree with you there, D-Money. Also, another one that I actually got a comment on YouTube about, and I was like, man, this is actually a really good YouTube comment. Someone pointed out the next Hall of Fame, again, kind of off the wall here, but Alexstrasza, as long as that card's around with lackeys, if your opponent has anywhere near 15 damage on board, you're almost always scared of dying from full health because of Alexstrasza.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys feel about Alexstrasza and like the lackeys and like, oh, I'm at 30 health, I should be good. My opponent only has 10 damage on board. Oh, JK, they're 1-mana randomly generated lackey. Now gave them Alexstrasza and I'm dead. So, like,
oh, you're saying because a Draconic Lackey generating Alexstrasza for every class.
Yes, so it's available to every class, whether or not you run Alexstrasza or not, and you're always scared if your opponent has 15 damage on the board and they run, you've seen a Draconic Lackey, you're scared of Alexstrasza. Is that a stretch?
Very strong in general, and you could put her into a lot of decks. So I would say that they should Hall of Fame it like as like the same reasoning they gave for like Acolyte of Pain or something like that. It's just like it's kind of an auto include in certain styles of decks. And yeah, when you get it off Draconic Lackey, it is very strong. haven't played too many Draconic Lackeys, but whenever I play it, it feels like there's an 80% chance to get something with Alexstrasza in its name to be offered. So,
It's pretty broad.
yeah, well, yeah, there's only two options, but yeah, it's either you get Dragon Queen or you get the regular Alexstrasza, and I think I could totally be down with the Hall of Fame on that. Yeah,
I
but
love
I mean,
that card in general. I mean, I think I like
it
the
is a great card.
concept of how it heals, and it also can, do 15 off of your opponent's health. So does a
Not a
lot.
lot of neutral healing is very important as well. So that might make Demon Hunter and more aggressive classes like that even better, which would be a reason to not take it out. But
9-drops wouldn't affect much about like the aggro demon hunter, right? Like, because they're
You're
usually
dead.
dead.
yeah, even if you set yourself back to 15, it doesn't matter. You're still
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah, you're at least dead on board if you have enough time to throw out a 9-drop. So
Fair
at
enough.
that point. But I think that's an interesting perspective. I feel like not only a specific level of player usually drifts towards picking the Alexstrasza early on in the game, because most of the time, if you get a Draconic Lackey on turn like 3 or 4, you're more looking to find something to fill out your curve. Like you'd generally rather have like the evasive dragon that's like the 7/7 taunt in most of those situations. If you don't have like a 7-drop or something like that, because you're going to get to play it sooner and get it onto the board. But I do play when I'm playing like really good people. Sometimes they pull an Alexstrasza and they hide it and they keep it in their hand the whole time and then kill me like that. That's just like next level preparation, thinking many turns ahead for when that's actually going to be useful. But I guess at the same time, since it heals, it is flexible. So it's just not a pick that I see everyone making all the time, and I'm glad of that. But
I can see them Hall of Faming it for like next expansion or something like that.
Yeah, I only mention it because the lackeys. The lackey, like normally, if you play like a warlock, right, you can assume if they've got dragon synergy, they're probably running Alex, right? So like you can play around it. My point was mainly just randomly like a rogue Alexstraszaing you, like you know what I mean? Like it just comes off of the lackeys, and it's just like, okay, well, I thought I was safe at 26 health when he only had 8 damage on board, but he's got Alex now, and he got his.
To you?
No, I mean, no. It was actually a comment on YouTube, and I just thought it was a really good comment because I've always thought of Alex being an awesome card, but it's just an obnoxious card when you have lackeys. And because of how popular Rogue is, sitting as a top tier, my opinion, a tier 1 deck, you just see more of these Draconic lackeys making Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, normal Alexstrasza, Malagoses, and then because they have 0 mana Abysses, because of Galakrond and Togwaggle, like they just burst you from 20 plus damage, and it's just like, okay, well that was fun. There's no way to play around it. There's like nothing I could have done ever. But cool. All right, next one.
It's definitely a good point. Never really thought. I never think about the things that Draconic lackeys generate too frequently, because you usually look at them as like one of the worst ones to get, because it's like the control lackey, and most decks that are lackey centric are tempo oriented, right? Like unless we're talking about Quest Shaman, but that deck's kind of just trash right now.
I love Draconic lackey. I mean, as a value player, I like the ones that have limited capabilities are my least favorite, but also the ones with uncapped capabilities are like the least fair. So like Draconic lackey can make a dragon, that dragon makes another dragon, that dragon summons more dragons. It's just like for this 1 mana minion, I now got like 5 levels of like RNG. But like the one that does 2 damage, it always just does 2 damage. That's it. It's capped. But the Draconic and the Ethereal are uncapped. They literally they just keep building off of each other with cards that they make.
Right. Yeah. It's great in Warrior. It's awful in Rogue, right? Because if you get like a Draconic lackey on 3 against a Demon Hunter with Rogue, like you're just like, shit, man. Like I just want the Kobold lackey. I need something to remove this thing on board. Give me a faceless. Give me some tempo. Something I can do to generate the board to get the forward back right now. But whenever you're playing against Warrior with like Rogue or something, you're like, ooh, Draconic lackey. Give me an Alexstrasza so I can make them have to use another board clear or something.
Yep.
But it's juicy in that situation. Good point. Good point. So what decks are you guys going to play this week? What's your plan, guys? Dan?
I've been trying to make a lot of different things work, but they're not working. So it looks like I'm gonna have to resort to playing the best decks, which I mean, there's actually a lot of different decks that are performing very well. Like a lot of different classes are actually pretty relevant. Like you have Spell Druid, which is still good. Gala Warlock has been performing pretty well actually as well. Um, Reno Mage is still decent. You have the Galakron Priest, you have the Warrior deck that we were talking about, you have Rogue, you have Highlander Hunter, Face Hunter, Demon Hunter. There's actually a lot of classes being represented, so what I'm gonna do today is probably just jump between all the most powerful decks, and every time I lose, just switch decks, something like that.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's a good way to go about it, man. Absolutely.
Switch it up.
Any
So I've been,
spicy memes, Rob?
No. So for me, most of my chat has seen the past couple days. We've been playing a lot of budget decks. So we're doing a budget deck to legend. So I have, I think, 3 or 4 budget decks we've been rotating on. So from bronze to plat 5, we played budget token Demon Hunter, and then from plat 5 to diamond 5, we played a budget token Spell Druid. And then now that we're at Diamond 5, we've been hovering between Diamond 4 and Diamond 3 with those 2 decks. But Face Hunter is going to be added to that list as well, just to kind of add a 3rd deck in there. And then another possible budget deck is either going to be the Invoke Shaman and or Invoke Galakron Rogue. Because those are obviously very cheap as well. Minus the Togwaggle, which won't run because it's legendary. The only legendaries we normally...
Demon Hunter? Is
yes.
that what you said?
Oh my god, it's probably one of the most fun decks I've played. That's literally a free deck.
Does the Naga that does the damage for each? Do you get a lot of finishers that way?
It takes people from like 25 life to like less than 10 with the combination of that. So you play the Naga and then you play the 5 mana summon 6 homies, and it's a full board clear and about 15 damage face. Because you trade the homies in. Yeah, you trade your homies in, and then each homie that dies, your Naga does 3 damage to your enemy's homies. So it kills the board if they have any, and if they don't have a board and they only have 1 minion, like if the 3 damage just keeps going face, you're killing the large minion and you're doing 3 damage face each time. It's crazy. And because you summon 6 guys at 3 damage per that guy that dies, plus the damage they spit out is insane. And if you have Knife Juggler, which of course we play, we do
of course
5 pings with the Knife Juggler, and then of course the 15 damage with when they die.
Is it worthwhile to run the dragon?
That's what I was gonna ask.
So I tried the dragon in the first build, and with the dragon, because he costs 9 mana, and how important draw is in the deck, because you're constantly throwing up on board and you're just keep cycling, that when the dragon gets in your hand on the left or rightmost part, it's really hard to carry out your outcast, which is another huge mechanic with the Ultras. So he just sits in your hand, and it makes it really hard to play Skull, makes it really hard to play the Spectral Sight, and all of your like outcast cards, because you want to be cheap, so you can just keep comboing each and every turn. Because of course I run questing adventures too, which is another win condition because it lines up with Skull, because then the questing costs 0. So then you just keep, oh my god, when you pop off the turns, you'll like end with a 2 10-10 questings. You did like 15 damage directly to them and cleared their board. So it's pretty fun for like a stupid little token deck that's literally free to play.
Do you run Feast of Souls, the one that draws for the minions that die?
Yeah, I tried that, and the Spectral Sight, the Skull, and the 1 mana draw 1 guy is plenty on the draw. The Feast of Souls was too much. At least I felt it was too much. I added 1, it felt okay. I added 2, it felt terrible. Went back to 1, and again, just okay, and I took it out, and the deck just seems to run. You never... Like, when you draw bad, you lose with a budget deck. That's just how budget decks function, right? But when you draw decent, it does well.
It works.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Feast of Souls is like a good card. Honestly, I think it's kind of like a little... It's either too much or not enough, right? Like that is a draw mechanic. Like, you think everything dying and drawing for everything dying is great when you think about Cult Master, but when you're using Cult Master, you can use the cards immediately before you keep drawing. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you have to have a board to play it. And if you're behind, it's literally just dragging your hand down because you can't change the positioning of your hand to like line up another big burst turn with outcasts. Because the main point of the deck is to get good outcast combo burst turns. Like that is like in any card that stops that, the dragon, for example, and like a feast because you can't play it if something hasn't died. If you could play it and it just drew one, like worst case, I could play it. But because you can't play it unless something dies on your side of the board, it makes it very very difficult to like weave in the early stages of the game.
Right.
So, D-Money, I just saw you smirking. So what's your input here? You've been smirking this whole time. What you got for us? What you got?
I'm just listening to the Demon Hunter, you know. I'm just chilling out. No, I did try to make. That's actually like one of the only Demon Hunter decks that I do like the concept of, and I did try to make that work a little bit. And I was running the dragon as well, just because it was fun. But yeah, I think that deck's pretty fun. I'm happy that you're doing well with it. I would be interested in seeing your list. I don't know how good the deck could really be. I don't think it's a top tier deck by any means.
No.
But I've seen it be really, like, when it works, it really works. So yeah, I'm just listening to the Demon Hunter talk. You know, I don't have too much input because I only have like 20 wins with it. But
I've seen you play it.
Yeah, I played it one day. All right. Nah, but that's one version that I like. So
yeah,
it's cool that you're doing a free to play kind of thing. I do like the opposite. I try to spend as much dust on my decks as I can. So
yeah, so with it being a budget deck, there's obviously limitations. Like if your opponent heals, like with the warrior deck, they gain 20 armor with the armor smiths and like the risky skippers. Like the deck literally just doesn't have the ability to do the 30 plus an extra like 30. Like the deck's capabilities aren't that. Like it has its damage that it's like old school freeze mage. Like it has the damage that it can do in the deck, and then anything past that it just can't do. You know what I mean? So I don't know how I would make it unbudget, to be honest. Because the deck in itself is just a very inexpensive, free, token deck. So
yeah, that's because Demon Hunter is like, I mean, we said it last week. Like the Demon Hunter decks usually don't include too many neutral cards in them, typically, just because the power level of their cards is so strong and they all work together and everything. So, like I think I saw a list be posted. I think it was just like a tempo Demon Hunter that got like number 3 or something, and I think there was literally 3 neutral cards in there, something like that. Like, yeah. But
yeah, there's not much incentive for neutrals in Demon Hunter, is there?
What were there? Just what were they? What's the good
I think
neutral?
it was like the freeze guy, the Shadow Weaver guy, and don't remember the other one. Maybe Fellwing. Yeah.
Yes, Fellwing.
That's 3.
Yeah.
Well, no, he was running like 2 copies of one of them, so that's what I meant.
Yeah, I figured that's what I meant. You usually run 2 Fellwings and then a Shadow Weaver. That's a fairly typical build I see. So
speaking of cards like the Fellwing that recently got nerfed, the Albatross, we haven't talked about that since it's nerfed at all. Have you guys been seeing it at all since it's nay?
I have not seen it once.
Only seen it in Res Priest, really. And it seems like okay, but it's definitely not at the level what it was before. You actually have time to like get stuff out, or maybe draw some cards before they shuffle in stuff. Also, them playing on turn 4 opens it up to like Polymorph, Hex, all that stuff, which is pretty nice. So I think it's definitely there's like not too many people running it, but I think it's still like a decent card overall. It depends on how the meta is. If we see like a bunch of Highlander taking over, if you're playing a bunch of Highlander decks, it could be pretty good. But yeah, I think it's in a good spot right now. Like just it's still okay, but it's not nearly as strong. So I like it.
Yeah, I mean, it went from being like I felt like it was in every deck I played against.
Yeah,
like it was every game It was Albatross being played, and then it goes from costing 1 more mana. Albatrosses are gone. The birds are extinct. We've never seen another albatross in the region again. So I just thought that was interesting.
The nerfs were very subtle, but I think a lot of them did the job, but there's still a lot that needs to be done. But yeah, that's how I feel.
I think we're gonna get Hearthstone news this week. I was just telling the boys this before we started the podcast, and I think they've been silent all week last week and the week before. So I think we're gonna hear some news for something. It might just be the Fire Festival, but hopefully there's some better good news in there than just the festival. So
Like
maybe some
nerfs or like more cards? Like, what are you thinking?
I think that they should do another balance change. People on the internet are just too mad right now. And I like to see people, be like, I love the meta. Or some people that are happy about it, but it seems like a lot of the personalities are a little bit agitated with the way the
like
game
the meta.
is.
I sweater too much. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't mind the meta.
I don't really mind it too much either, but I'm in a vacuum, so.
Yeah. You guys are definitely in your own vacuum. D-Money's super competitive, very high skill level. I'm very old skill, or not so high skill level. Just play meme decks and just try to have fun. Because that's what you gotta, at the end of the day, that's like, people ask this all the time. Again, off topic. It's like Hearthstone, I'm getting really frustrated, not having as much fun anymore. You just gotta step back and be like, it's a game. I stream because I love it, or I play the game because I love it, and I'm just trying to have fun. And, some days will be better than others. And that's kind of just have to have a look at it, But
yeah.
So passionate about the game that it just hurts to have a meta that I don't like or that I think is just not fun for a lot of people. Because I want the game to be great. I love it when it's great, but I hate it when it's bad. Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel the same way. I mean, we've been playing this game for, every day for years now, right? So you want to see this game become the best possible thing it can be because you like it that much. And when it's not reaching that goal, you get frustrated. I completely get it. And I'm sure a lot of people also feel that same way because there's just so much room for greatness, right? There's so much improvement that can be done. But yeah, I truly get it. Absolutely.
And just to respond, because I know chat was kind of jumping on the fact that the internet is obviously toxic and hates every meta. I mean, like, hate it less. Hate less than they do right now. Because right now it's amped up pretty high. Like, we were talking about the video came out this week called the Demon Hunter Effect, about how everything on the entire ladder is bent around to reaction of this class and the fact that it's played a ton. And it's everything is warped around one thing, and that's not the way you want it to be. And that's the only reason I was saying that people are more outraged than normal. It's just because everything's kind of bent around one class right now. And yeah, you can't make the internet happy, but you can make them happier. So
yeah.
Anyway,
so I think this is a good segment into our next part. Yeah, the Grandmasters.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You guys know a little bit more information about this than me. So I'll let you guys chat a little bit and then I'll tune in after. So I know you guys had some stuff to say.
So the Grandmasters this week was a bit of a different format than typical. So each person brought all 10 classes, a deck from each a deck from each of the 10 classes. And I believe they banned 6. What was it, Draco? 6 classes?
Yeah, you have 6 bands. So
yeah, if you have 6 bands out of the 10 classes, so we're seeing a lot of like Paladin versus Shaman, Paladin versus Paladin, all that kind of stuff. Like Murloc Paladin, Totem Shaman, which is like cool to see the decks that we don't typically see being played by like professionals, but there was a lot of backlash from the Grandmasters on Twitter, talking about like how the format just seemed like an arena game. It seemed like you were playing arena. Like these decks were just so bad, and just crazy stuff was happening, and they couldn't really help it at all. Just a bit of a clown fiesta. But I mean, it's cool that Blizzard at least tried to switch it up. So props to them for that. But I didn't really tune into any of the games. I'm not sure if Draco did. I think Draco's been watching it.
Yeah. My fiance and I kind of put it on as background noise every single weekend. She loves to keep track of it. She's like a very she's into like organizing things and stuff. So following the bracket system is highly interesting to her, and I love talking about it too. So it's just a way that we get to keep talking about Hearthstone in our daily lives, which is obviously what I do all the times too. But it's been really fun to watch. I love the concept of the grandmasters going through all of the different kinds of game modes, especially this one where they're playing the worst classes in the game with the best decks that they can make against one another. It's just a really cool concept where it's like, okay, when we get to grand finals, one of the things that these people scored points in to see if they qualified to be a world champion was whether or not they were the best at playing the worst classes. And that's such a cool concept to wrap into being the world champion of Hearthstone. And this week is the week where you get to watch all of the shaman decks and all of the paladin decks and all of the bad things play against each other. And not many of the players you usually get to see in this context, because usually it's the best players playing the best stuff the best way. So it's just a change that's refreshing that I don't really think we've really seen much like it before. And some of the what is the word? The domino effects of this game mode is absolutely hilarious. Like Language Hacker, he didn't put a Zephyrs in his Highlander Mage deck, right? Which sounds insane, but there was 2 people that didn't ban his Mage because out of their 6 bans that they had, because of the fact that he didn't even include a Zephyrs in his. And then I believe Eddie put a whole bunch of like trash cards in his Rogue deck too, so that people wouldn't ban his Rogue because they figured like, oh, his isn't even as good as the normal one. He threw weak cards in there. So it's interesting how people are playing these mind games with the other grandmasters by trying to make the good decks look a little bit less good, to make people take that risk and be like, you know what? He can bring his Rogue against me because he's got 2 Boulder Fist Ogres in it. And that's weird. So whatever, I think it's neat.
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, to me, that's fantastic. Anything that changes up tournaments, ladder, meta, cards, keeps it interesting, keeps people thinking, makes the viewing experience different. I mean, this to me is like, I love stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I wish I would have watched more of it. But ever since, again, it moved over to, for those of you who are unfamiliar, the Hearthstone, all of their broadcasts for tournaments have moved over to YouTube gaming. So I honestly haven't been tuning in as much. I used to watch them all the time. I used to pull it up on the other screen and just edit and listen or just do whatever and just have it up. But now it's not so much.
Yeah, the viewership definitely takes a hit too. Like I remember we used to have like 13 to 20,000 people watching Grandmasters on Twitch, but on YouTube
more
it's
than that.
Yeah, more than that.
3,000.
Yeah, it was up like, well, I remember it being anywhere between 30 and like 50K, depending who was playing. Yeah. Obviously, the lesser known players hovered around 20, 30. And if you had some high caliber players up there, it teetered around the 40 to 50 range. And yeah, I haven't seen it. Whenever I go on YouTube, it's 3,000-4,000 ish, maybe. I've seen it go up to like
that's
6.
More than I've seen.
Yeah, I've seen it maybe go up to 6, but that was because like Tice was playing, and like he's a community favorite.
One of the things that I really dislike, this is a little bit of tangent about YouTube streaming versus Twitch streaming. So, but I don't like how I can't open up the chat on my iPad from like pressing like twice on it, like you can with like a normal mobile device in Twitch. Like if you ever use like an iPad for Twitch, you just double tap it and the chat comes out and you can type in the chat. But on YouTube, you're forced to have the chat always there, or you can't.
You're not.
You're not.
Actually,
am I just bad at it?
There's a button you can press. I thought that same way for a while, and it was very frustrating. But there is like a little icon that you could press that disables the chat.
All right, I'm gonna FaceTime you later.
Yeah.
No, but that's not good. That it's not intuitive enough that Draco, an IT guy, can't figure that out. Like,
yeah, it's very not user friendly.
Yeah, like it shouldn't be like that. Like for me, when I pull it up on my computer, I always put things in theater mode because I want it to be bigger, but I also want to keep chat there. And from my understanding, I couldn't have theater mode and see chat. That wasn't an option. It was either it'd be tiny and I see chat in its little box, or full screen, don't see chat, or theater mode, I don't see chat. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not watching this. It's not the way I want to watch it.
You honestly probably don't want to see YouTube chat anyway, but yeah, I don't know. I the one time that I ever typed in the YouTube chat for like a Grandmasters game, I think it was during one of the Masters tournaments. It was like Reno Mage versus Holy Wrath Paladin, and it was like the final game, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, Shirvala Paladin's gonna win this 100%. Mage doesn't even have a chance." And I'm like, guys, actually, I play a lot of Mage, and it's like a 50-50. And then instantly, like 6 people just at me, and they're like, "What rank are you? You suck. What I rank 50 chat. Like,
Oh my
have you ever
God.
played this matchup before?" And I'm like, I literally play this. I play this deck like a million times a day. Like.
I
I
have
just
more
wanted to say
games.
one thing.
I have more games with Mage than all of you 6-player combined X3. Okay.
Honestly, and then the mage ended up winning the game, and I just sat there quietly, just smiling. But
In those guys'
Nice.
defense, it was probably more likely that you were like a rank, like not you, like than you are you when they're like, how do you know? Like most people in YouTube chat are like, just like not the most intelligent Hearthstone players with their comments, I would say. So it's
It
very
was-
unlikely that you just throw in there something that's actually true. So
it was way more toxic and aggressive than I expected it to be. But I don't know. Maybe it was just an off day for YouTube chat.
You got attacked by a pack of YouTube hyenas, dude.
I got slammed. There were like people defending me, and then people against the people that were. It was. I started like a whole war there, but that was
Wow.
my experience. Yeah.
well, this
Nice.
game mode is still on for the rest of the day. I think we're in like Europe right now. So if any of you guys do want to check some of these like cool games out, you probably got a solid 5 hours or so left to check them out today, because today's the finals of the game mode, I believe. So
Yeah, but we watch the stream first, and then after this, if D-Money's streaming, we watch that. And then after, if D-Money happens to get off, and I happen to get off, and then, of course, Draco's not on, then you can go watch it. But until that
Yeah.
happens, you guys,
there's a lot
you
of
shouldn't, like,
stipulations.
yeah, you just don't leave, okay? That's just how that works. So just
There's
kinda
always
lay
going to
that
be a
out there.
YouTube VOD. I mean,
Yeah. But live stream, this is premium, right from the source.
Delicious.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should move into the cards we got here. We have a few cards to talk about.
Some controversial cards of the week.
All right, the card that I picked out that I have a problem with right here. I don't even have a problem with it. It's just, I think it's slightly overstated, is the Shadow Jailer. So currently it's a 2-mana 1/5 if you played against road guys, and after you play a secret, you get to discover a secret from another class. It's very value-oriented, spirals out of control very quickly, because each and every turn, they just keep playing secrets, they generate more secrets, so secrets add to secrets, and it's very, like, they're not actually spending any resources to do this because it's all for free. Stat-wise, a 2-mana 1/5 is huge. There's 5 health is a lot, and it's almost no deck can kill this card on turn 2 unless you have the perfect answer, right? So
It's an upgradable frame bot, right? That's what it is.
That's true. With a really big upside.
And yeah, the upside is unlimited value. That's a ridiculous thing to think about. Why would they put unlimited value on an upgradable frame bot body? That's just impossible to deal with. That card was even only used just because it was something that you could always generally magnetize on 3. So
Yeah, I mean, people play this card even if you don't have a secret. Like, it's just a big body against like Demon Hunter or something. And it basically has taunt all the time because you never know if your opponent has a secret to activate it. So a 2-mana 1/5 with taunt, that if they don't clear it, you get unlimited secrets depending on how much mana you have. It's really good, especially with the Paladin secrets costing 1, and you're always like guaranteed 1. You can usually just go off, even if you only have 3 mana, you can still play 2 secrets, and then you have another secret to play next turn. And you can just defend your own guy. It's very nutty. Yeah. If you have this in your opening hand as a rogue, it's very, very good.
fun fact, I played a guy in Wild who generated 3 ice blocks 3 turns in a row with this card, and I was unable to defeat him the entire time just because of the fact that he was able to discover ice block every single turn.
better player.
That sounds like fun.
Yes. It's horrible and wild, but continue.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this card being having its. I mean, Blizzard apparently loves to reduce things by 1, so if they want to reduce his health by 1 to 4, then I think that would make it a lot more balanced. Still would be a very good card, but yeah, I think it's quite strong.
How
Might be a
about
little too strong.
reduce his mana down by 1? Just a 1 mana 1/5. I mean, that'll do the trick.
They'll reduce
Easy.
anything at this point. So
Yeah, I feel like this card is just kind of ridiculous. You know, like like I don't know what they were thinking when they came out. I mean, Rogue didn't need more power, really. And this card is just so hard to remove. There's nothing that does 5 damage on turn 2. Like, right? What does?
No, there's nothing. I was
the
trying
only, The only thing I could think of is a pre-spell like Forbidden Words or Shadow Word Pain. But yeah, every other class they'd probably struggle with this.
This could arguably be considered hard removal versus like dealing 5. Like I don't know what deals 5 on 2. Like nothing does the math to get rid of that guy on like an answering side.
You would have to be like playing Rogue and have like a backstab into Eviscerate or something. Yeah.
Yep. Which is 2 cards for 1 in turn 2. Yeah. And on top of that, he's good late game. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you don't have him on 2. You know, you're not a good Rogue player. You don't get him on 2, but not a problem. You just play him later on, and then you just have the Citadel of Secrets, the Christmas tree, they say.
Yeah.
Do you think he's better late game or early?
I think he's good in both.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I think no matter when you play this card, the card is good, which I like about cards. I like legendary cards being good no matter when you play them. I like the flexibility. But I just don't like it being like really, really good in the early game and really, really good in the late game. But I want the flexibility of both being decent, right? So like, making him a 2 mana 1/4 so he can be like just a slightly easier to deal with, but still a fantastic card. It's slightly just easier to deal with than 5 HP. So that's
Were
just
they thinking of Thanos here? Like, does this actually have something to do with Infinity Stones? Because it looks like oddly similar
absolutely.
to like.
Absolutely.
What's the flavor text on this? Can you scroll down? I want to know if it's related to the Marvel universe because it feels like
you can clearly see that the purple one is for like mage secrets, the yellow one is for paladin secrets, and the green one's for hunter secrets, and it makes sense. But
I feel like it should have had a Thanos flavor text, something related to Thanos here. That would have been
his
so
voice
perfect.
line is actually amazing, though. I love it.
It
reminds me of myself. He says, "I never lie, but I never tell the truth." Something like that. Yeah.
Irony. I get it.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I got for that one.
The next card is something I picked out because people on the internet are always talking about how this card makes them they don't feel like this card is fair. It arguably could be considered that it's not. I don't like the way it reacts with 9 mana cards. I think that's a little bit BS. That you can make a card unplayable and put it in their hand forever. That's like, because with Freezing Trap, it's a punish. Like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have attacked with your Dragon Queen Alex first, because that's going to be sitting in your hand the whole time. But if you can target that, you're just kind of punishing people in an unforgivable way for the rest of the game in a way that they don't really have any way to play around it. And that seems a little bit harsh.
Yeah, especially when there's no card to reduce things in your hand, because Thorzen is gone. So you literally just have an unplayable card, and it's not your fault, really, like you said. I think they could definitely change it to be kind of like an Embiggen effect where it can't be above 10 mana. That would be cool. But yeah, besides that, I think it's fine.
I bet it won't get touched, though. Strong. There's too much text already. They're not going to add more text to it. Like, that's just the way Blizzard thinks. So when they're like, oh, well, we could nerf this card, but, I don't know how to, fit the words in, so screw it. Let's just move on. It's going to be broken forever now.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to touch it either, but that would be the only thing I could see them doing to it.
Yeah,
works.
I like the ambiguous wording. I mean, I think that would make sense. But
I would
they're not
like it if they
gonna
just
touch
put the effect in there, like, and just changed it like that. Kind of like they did with like the Yogg nerfs and stuff, where they like made it so like they changed the way the interactions work within the game. But I don't know. I guess like not putting that in there makes the text, I guess, slightly misleading when you hit like a 9 drop and it comes back for 10.
Yeah,
Um,
Blizzard already has enough misleading text, so I don't think
yeah.
we need more.
Like wild growth. It doesn't tell you that if you, what is the word? Like if you have full mana, it turns into a 0 mana draw a card for 0.
Yeah.
You know, like that's kind of weird. That was never explained to anyone.
That's true. But that's always a thing in Hearthstone. There's always some weird interaction that you don't know until you play it, which is part of the fun. Haha.
Consistency. It's scary.
Oh, like the
Yeah.
the ramming speed into the dormant minion. That was great. Doesn't bother me
Yeah.
at all.
Never know.
Untilted by it.
It only costs you a few ranks. Yeah.
It's a little part of my sanity. Just a tad.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. Do we want to open up to a few
Questions.
a couple questions before we depart?
Yeah, Q&A time, boys. Now is your time to ask what's been on your mind, chat. Give us the most in-depth, quality questions.
I caught a
world
question
has
for you
seen.
earlier, Rob, from the chat when I saved it for the end. Someone asked if there was any way to fit Warglaives in your token Demon Hunter.
Well, you see, Warglaives is an epic card. And when building a budget deck, epic cards are quite expensive.
I forgot about that fact that it costs money.
So Warglaives is
Yeah.
fantastic in the deck. But due to limitations based on money/wallet size, I cannot include said card. But I think Sea Giant would actually be better than Warglaives. I was thinking
It
about
does
this.
fit the name of token.
Yeah, I really like Sea Giant in the deck, but this Sea Giant took it was either questing, which was a rare, or Sea Giant. Of course, I chose the rare card, not the epic card for budget purposes. But yeah, Warglaives is fine. You could throw it in there. It works really well with the 3 mana guy that every time you attack, summon a 2/2. So he synergizes like amazingly with that guy.
I feel it.
Is Bloodsworn Mercenary worthy of a nerf? That is a very strong card. I don't know how they would nerf it though, besides just increasing the mana cost, but it's very strong. It's definitely one of the strongest cards the Warrior has that creates kind of dumb scenarios that really shouldn't happen early game, but it's probably a consideration.
I don't think they're gonna nerf that card.
I don't think they will either, but it is just very good.
Yeah, it's a good card, but it's a card that has a lot of flexibility. You have to have a minion that's been damaged for it to be active. It doesn't work well with everything. Like, there's a lot of things that make it good and make it bad, right? And it's fairly, like, I don't want to say easy to play around, but it has playability to be played around. Because this minion's damaged. It's a big minion. We should probably deal with it, or, expect something to happen next turn and then plan around that. So, cards like that, I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah, I thought the Mavericks question, do you believe the addition of the pirate tag to Risky Skipper is a mistake? I think that's an interesting concept and a good question, because I don't think it's a mistake, because when we looked at the card Risky Skipper, I think everyone kind of unanimously agreed this card looks like a freaking pirate. It should be a pirate. And the fact that it didn't have a pirate tag seemed like, obviously that was a mistake. I don't think anyone really understood the implications that would happen by adding the pirate tag onto it, with the fact that now you can just use Ankar directly as like a sole tutor for that specific card, which ends up being a semi-tutor for Battle Rage. I definitely didn't see where it was heading with that pirate tag being, added on there, but I don't think it was a mistake.
For Stones, how often should you play Hearthstone to warrant buying a laptop to run it? iPad sucks. Oh, if like whole monetary buying things, if you can buy a laptop and it doesn't affect you financially, then buying a laptop for the ease of lifestyle use is probably a good idea. But if you buy a laptop and you feel bad about buying the laptop, then you probably shouldn't buy the laptop. Same thing with Hearthstone cards. If you buy the cards and you feel bad that you bought them, you probably couldn't afford them. So you need to buy it and enjoy it. And if that's not coming to mind, then it's probably not a good idea.
Send us your tax information, and we'll figure it out for you.
Yeah, I mean, you can always get a really good phone to play it on. Probably plays pretty well on there, on like one of the newer iPhones or something.
Recommend the Kindle Fire. It's like $100, and it can do like everything. I've never had a problem with my Kindle Fire.
Yeah, a lot of things can run Hearthstone pretty awesome that don't really require, don't require a lot of money. Like, you can play Hearthstone pretty awesomely on like any newer iPad, or like you can play it pretty great on some phones. So, Chromebooks are cheap and they run Hearthstone pretty well. So,
Noga has a good question. Do you guys think in the next expansion that classes should basically have more draw? For example, Hunter or Shaman? In my opinion, no. Classes need some sort of limitations, because then you get what World of Warcraft had and is currently trying to fix, where every class can do everything. And I don't think that's good for any game, because then nothing has a profile, nothing has its individualistic nature of like how the deck and classes play. For example, you think of Druid, you think of ramp, you think of big minions, you think of rogue, you think of combos, cheap spells, secrets, backstabby stuff. But when you start giving like everything secrets, or everything draw, or everything combo stuff, or everything armor, it just ruins the whole class. Like it's just too much of everything for everyone. So.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I think they're like classes like Shaman, they don't really have a lot of options for draw, so I can see them getting like one option, but I guess not too many in general to give it like a new class identity, I guess. But I think there's definitely going to be more draw things in general, especially because of Demon Hunter having so much access to it. I think you need something to compete with that.
Yeah, I agree. There isn't like I think it's weird how Priest has like absolutely no draw. Like, it feels so bad when you're like looking for a specific card, because you're just like might never get it in the whole game until the end. That feels like a very long stale concept for them. And I think Shaman could have a little bit more draw. But Hunter doesn't even like, traditionally Hunter shouldn't need draw, because the way its cards are built do so much aggressive damage to your opponent, to the opposing player, that limitation kind of makes up for the fact that it can kill you so simply. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think all of the cards should draw either. That's my point. So
yeah. I'm good for like one more question if you want.
Yeah,
or we could just end it here.
I haven't really seen anything else that sparked good conversation so far.
That question about why do I suck at Hearthstone? I mean, you got 3 great streamers right here to check out if you ever want to help yourself improve. So, hey, check us out.
I didn't even think about Dyslexian's question right there, where he's asking like, what do you do for silence if you can't run beasts and the OTK King Crush because you don't want to tutor the owl? I didn't even think about that before. That is kind of an interesting concept, that you can't run the silence in the deck because the only silence that's neutral that you can run is the. You could run Shield Bear. There you go.
That's not even. I don't think that's even
Shield
in
Breaker
standard anymore. That's not in standard.
Just kidding. Just ignore
me. There's very limited options for silence and neutral heal. Like neutral silence and neutral heal. It's just so limited. It's crazy. It's probably the least that we've ever seen in Hearthstone. So it's tough, but we'll get it eventually. Maybe in like the new. I don't know if they're coming out with like one of those like adventures or mini expansions before the next expansion, but I could see them adding stuff like that in one of those.
Draco, what was that card that you had talked about in Demon Hunter last week? The 3-mana 2/3.
The 3-mana 2/3 and Demon Hunter.
Yeah.
Oh,
said
the
it's like-
Volpera Scoundrel.
Yeah, you could play Scoundrel, and Scoundrel can get you an Iron Beak. There you go.
Well, Scoundrel only discovers spells, so
Okay, well, he could get not an Iron Beak. Never mind. I was just trying to think of a way you could randomly generate some hunter shit.
Good try.
yeah, I don't know how you could generate a random beast to play it from hand.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of, some randomly generated beast, and then I was thinking Zephyrus to give you a silence after you draw all your cards, but that doesn't guarantee a silence, even if they do have a taunt, because Zephyrus is a 4-head. So
Yeah, and Zephyrs and combo OTK decks aren't really meant to be together.
yeah. I don't
'Cause it
know.
would take longer. Yeah. But I think we're good there with questions. I feel good about our podcast today. Thank you guys, everyone who was here for our 7th episode. Sorry we didn't have a lot to talk about. It's been somewhat of a slow week in the Hearthstone with meta development and news and whatnot. So wasn't as much fun stuff for us to discuss today, but hopefully next week we'll have a ton of interesting new things to talk about together, you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for tuning in, of course. And I'll be streaming again, like streaming after this. So I'm not going anywhere. We'll be starting it up after this, where I think D-Money will also be starting his stream as well after this. So
Yeah, I'm gonna go grab something to eat, and then I'll be starting up my stream. Gonna be playing a bunch of different decks, all the top decks. Every time I lose, I'm gonna be switching to a new deck, and yeah, it should be a good time. But yeah, it was a good episode. Even though we didn't really have too much to talk about, still had a good time, of course, with the Metabreakers here. Yeah, good. Nice cast, guys. Nice pod. That was a good pod.
all right, boys. Good chatting with you. We'll chat again soon. All right. Have a good rest of your guys' day.
Everyone. Bye.
Hasta luego, homies.